Hi, so in this example I'm going to demo and contrast the way ADO and OLEDB handles input and output variables and go through two examples, comparing, contrasting each. So you'll notice here I created four variables, two input variables and two output variables. And I also created two connections here, an OLEDB connection and an ADO connection, both to the same database. So I have two sections here, an OLEDB, and I actually disabled the ADO one for now. So I disabled it. So we're going to go through the OLEDB one first. So if I open up the script task, you'll notice I selected OLEDB as my connection type and the OLEDB connection that I created down there. And in my parameters mapping, I put all four variables in, the two input variables and the two output variables. And you'll notice for OLEDB I have to do the numbering scheme where I number the parameters 1 through numerically, which corresponds to the query that I have here. So if I open up my query, you'll notice I have 4 question marks, and those parameters 0, 1, 2, and 3 actually corresponds to the positions of the question marks. So in my input 1 is where my first variable is going to go. The second question mark is where my second, and so on and so forth. And you'll notice that the way I get the output parameters is I actually set the question mark itself, which is kind of an odd syntax. But I guess it's doing a replacement, string replacement there somehow. So my two output parameters are basically going to be the string this is, and then equal the value of the input parameter and the other input parameter. So let me go ahead and demo that. So I'm going to run it now. And you'll notice it's displaying value 1 and value 2. Value 1 and value 2. So it displayed the 4 variables. And the way I did that is in my script task, I actually fed it the 4 variables that it's handling. So you'll see I have the input var here checked out, this one checked out, and that one checked. And in my script, I simply, which is actually a C# script, in the script task, I merely display the DTS variables here. So that's how you saw those message boxes. Now if I go over to the ADO example, let me disable my OLEDB and enable this one. And going to the corresponding SQL task, you'll notice I picked ADO.NET here and the connection, my ADO connection. And again, I did a direct input, so you'll notice in my parameters the input directions are the same, and so is naming the variables, but you'll notice I actually named my variable something. So unlike OLEDB, I don't have to name it 0, 1, 2, and 3. I actually have variable names for it. And these variable names, again, just like OLEDB, correspond to whatever I input in my SQL. So you'll notice I actually declare the input variables, and these are the corresponding names in my parameter mapping list in here. So, and then unlike the OLEDB where I put the question marks in the set, I actually have the output parameter names that I had in the parameter mappings. But you'll notice here I actually commented this out because it actually does an implicit declare of the output variables. So let's demo that, and again you'll notice in my parameter names they correspond to what I have in my SQL script. And this script task is the same thing, I allow access of my of these variables to the script task. And in my script task, in my C# script, the same exact, basically the same exact commands here. So it's the same exact code. So I'm going to run it now. And remember, I disabled the OLEDB one, so it's actually the ADO one that's running. So this is my input variable 1, my input variable 2, and I appended that this is my output parameter 1, output parameter 2. Now if I go back here, I just wanted to demo, what happens when I actually declare those variables. So you'll notice here, I actually have these variables, I mean this declaration here commented out. So I'm gonna leave it here and show you the error that I get if I actually declare both my input and output variables. Just so, if you run into this, you'll know, the reason why. So I'm gonna get an error here. And you'll notice in my error message here, in my output, it tells me, these have already been declared, because it actually does an implicit declaration. So, yep, input, the variable name output 02 is already declared. Same with 01. So, so there you go. That's the difference between OLEDB and ADO input and output variables and how to use them. And I find that's one of the kind of the highest barriers and trickiest parts about first-time users of SSIS, of trying to get the input and output parameters into their script and just understanding the convention of it all. So alright, there you go. Thank you for watching.